This is the J. Scott Outdoors podcast on Western big game hunting and fishing, brought to you by GoHunt.com Insider. Research faster, hunt more. Go to GoHunt.com/insider and join today. I'm your host, Jay Scott, and I live and breathe hunting and fishing, spending half the year in the field experiencing God's creation. I hope you'll enjoy hearing about our adventures. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. We have a really special guest today. We have Trevor Marques from Nevada. I believe you're from Ely, Nevada, correct, Trevor?
Yes, Jay, that's correct.
Trevor has grown up in the guide business over in Nevada and with his dad, and I'm going to have him go into giving the background on his hunting background and such. But these guys are known for killing some of the biggest bucks and bulls. They have incredible mule deer hunting and elk hunting in Nevada, and they've killed a bunch of 400 bulls, a bunch of state records. It looks like it's a family affair over there, so I'm excited to hear about Nevada and get to know Trevor a little bit and see what his guide service has to offer and get to learn a little bit about him. So, Trevor, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Oh, just fine. And so I want to start out by getting your background a little bit in hunting and guiding, and tell me a little bit of a bio on yourself.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm 33 right now, so I've basically been hunting my whole life. Early, my dad and uncles, they were trappers, and they trapped, a lot of bobcats, and that's kind of what got us out in the field. And they've always been hunters, but being out a lot, we've come to find a lot of bulls, and they'd shed hunt a lot. So back, or in the early days, the guys referred to them as the Marques brothers. Like, if you want to hunt elk, get a hold of the Marques brothers. Some guys know where they're at just from being out, in the mountains all the time, trapping, shed hunting, and what have not. So anyway, they got a hold of, a few guys around and took them out. And early on in 93, they got a hold of the governor tag holder at the time. Anyway, they killed a bull we'd been watching. We had a few sheds off him called Benedict, and that bull was just an exceptional bull. He went from like a 315 bull to a 348 to a 385 to a 400. And when they killed him at 400 gross, he was aged at 6.5 years old. Just phenomenal genetics on him. So then in 94, so he has a new state record right then in 393 net typical. Then in 94, the guy got a hold of us again, or my dad and them, and they killed a bull we'd been watching called Squiggly. And he ended up netting 403 with 5 inches broke off his main beam. So he has a new state record that year. And that year was my first year. I was 12. And my first year applying, I drew an elk tag. My dad and them, have been putting in for years and never drew, and I drew that. But at the time when we killed that bull in 94, it was in the rut, and they moved quite a ways from the rut to winter. Anyway, that winter time, we found out where he wintered. We found a couple of sheds off him. So ironically, potentially that could have been a bull that I could have killed at, 12 years old, being the new state record. But it didn't happen, and we still got it. So that was good on that end. And then in 96, we, went ahead and my dad got his own master guide license, and that year we killed the new state record again, ended up grossing 442 and netting 414. And then from there on out, just, in the elk business quite a bit. That's our main focus. Due to the size of the elk, a lot of our guys take their time off during that because we, obviously need more guys to help pack them. So that's our biggest focus. Last year we killed 27 bulls in Nevada. 3 of them in the 390s. The biggest one's right around 391 inches net. I killed with my bow.
You killed it personally?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I was looking on your website, and, I've always heard of the Marques brothers, and then, I follow you on Instagram, and you have a fantastic Instagram page. Why don't you tell me what your Instagram handle is, Trevor?
It's just a Bull Ridge Guide Service.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of followers, and you have some unbelievable photos. Going back to the elk, if that's you guys' specialty, So as far as when you started going out with your dad and uncles and stuff, I mean, were you just 4, 5, 6 years old, just a little guy?
Yeah, I caught my first bobcat at 5. I kind of picked out the tree. Obviously, I couldn't set the trap myself, but my dad did it, and that kind of got me going. And then another drawing I have of a bobcat tracks and going to a trap at age 3 that my grandma saved.
That's incredible. So you're a full-time guide in the state of Nevada with a primary focus on elk and mule deer. I know you guys also chase lions and run dogs and do sheep hunting. What, if you had to say, out of all the animals, is your favorite to hunt and guide?
Well, I mean, there's nothing like, killing a giant bull. I mean, you've put in the time, you've watched him, you've had close calls, and to finally get it done, there's just, no emotion or feeling that you get that could describe it. It's, so probably elk, lion had a close second, just watching the dogs work and, just how smart and agile they are. It's pretty amazing what, a lion could do.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And the adventure of it too, the lion hunting with the adventure of all of that, and getting out and, stay in shape and keep your legs stretched is probably a big contributing factor to liking the lion hunting as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's, like you said, it's a huge adventure that a lot of people, are misconstrued with a lion. Oh, you walk up to a tree and shoot it, and they don't understand what's between point A and C. I mean, that B of following up and down, circling ledges, everything you could imagine, and pretty much where you don't want to go, that's where that lion's going to take you up over that hill. And like you said, a lot of people don't, until you see it, really understand it.
Sure. Going back to the elk, what is your forecast for 2015 season coming up? I believe the guide portion of the draw was just fulfilled a day or two ago, and I believe the general season regular draw is still imminent. It's still available to apply. Talk to me a little bit about the forecast. What do conditions look like? I know it's a little hard to predict, being that we're here in mid-March. What's it looking like out there, Trevor?
It looks really good this year, and we had a super mild winter. And what we've learned over the years, that's their biggest, upside to their growth is a mild winter versus a hard winter where you have a lot of snow for a lot of moisture late, but that takes so much out of them to make it through them hard winters that they don't grow as good.
And so from a moisture standpoint, it's been mild, but have you gotten some storms? Obviously your bulls are dropping right now, or if they haven't already dropped, they're getting real close to dropping. Do you have green feet on the ground yet, or is it still too cold at night for it to start greening up?
No, it's pretty green right now, on the north sides, where that moisture kept and starting to melt off, and that's where it's looking the best. And that's what really helps our bulls out during the summer is they're up so high, it's still green pretty much regardless of, obviously more moisture is better, but even with the little moisture we have, it's still green and they're still putting on inches regardless.
Yeah. Are you finding brown antlers on the ground, and how, if they have been dropping, how long have most of the bulls been on the ground? How long have the antlers been on the ground?
Yeah, they've started dropping now. You've probably got maybe half that have shedded now, and still some packing. So that part of it's just kicking in right now. We're just gearing up for that.
How is Nevada in its cycle? You were telling me about some of the giant bulls that you guys have killed. Have there been any tag increases, or has the quality of elk maintained a high quality, or are you in a little bit of a lull now, or is it as good as ever?
It's probably as good as ever right now. Back in about 2007 to 2009, they gave out quite a few tags, and that put a hurting on them. Our average, when we're talking our rifle hunts, we don't have any early rifle hunts like Arizona or Utah. All of our rifle hunts are post-rut, November till December.
Mm-hmm.
And in those, we're killing, try to kill 350 class net bulls, to anything on up. And in them couple years when it got pretty low, it was down to about, 340s in there. Just Nevada's pretty easy to spot, and that's how we do a lot of our hunting, just glass and spot and stock techniques. And, even guys that, you may not necessarily know how to judge, but if you can see a group of 10 bulls, you can pick out the biggest one, and that's generally the older one.
Absolutely. And so your archery season, it falls in September. What are the dates typically for that archery hunt, and how have you guys historically done on those archery hunts, and how long is that season?
That archery hunt is 21 days. It's September 25th August 25th till September 16th. So it starts out pretty early, and our bulls generally are still, you'll have a few of them ones that are by themselves at the start, and other ones are going pretty good.
Bugling wise?
Yeah.
And so say the last 10 days of the hunt from, say the 5th till the 16th or the 6th to the 16th, is it just pretty much full tilt rutting?
Yeah, they're going crazy, and it's, like I said, a lot of bugling, a lot of fighting. When we archery hunt, we don't set water. We pretty much just spot and stalk or call. We like to be mobile. It's kind of mute, sitting there waiting, and not really knowing what's going on or what's coming. We like to get out there and find the one we want and just stay on him until we get it done.
Absolutely. And how much of your success is knowing where bulls are from the year before, or watching a particular bull, year after year, and then finally deciding that he's big enough to go after him with a hunter? How much of knowing what's out there as far as inventory plays into your success as an elk guide?
It's a huge percentage, and most of it, like I said, is picking up sheds and kind of knowing, okay, yeah, this bull isn't as big as we thought, or he's bigger than we thought. So we know, okay, this one's shedding, we got it said it's, say just 380. So kind of gives us, a goal as far as we know it, this type of class is in this hunt, so we're going to shoot for nothing smaller than, that range that we're hunting.
Sure. So a lot of times, will you have some of these big bulls that you kill, will you have one side or the other for 3, 4, 5 years? I mean, is it pretty common to find the match set, or at least one side of those bulls that you may be chasing?
Yeah, most of it is, it will at least have an antler, hopefully a couple sets, but it's getting pretty tough here as far as the pressure they're getting and the people we're getting.
Competition.
Yeah, just,
Yeah. Well, I think anytime, you have big, giant anything, I think it, more and more people want to do it. For our sport, it's good, and for hunting, it's good, and, maintaining our privilege to hunt and what have you, it's fantastic. But I know as a guide, sometimes having pressure and competition, can be hard to deal with, because maybe you've had a certain mountain to yourself for a long time, and then all of a sudden, competition shows up. And I know as a guide myself, it's sometimes hard to remember the big picture, that we're all hunting and we're all just trying to get our clients good animals. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. Like I said, it's, frustrating when you have a spot and then now you got 2, 3 other people in there and you're picking up, just a third of the antlers. But like I said, it's a common goal we all have, and to keep that right going, as much as you don't want them there, everyone wants the same thing.
Yeah. How much in picking up antlers can you pretty much predict, let's say, main beams and points? Let's say you have a match set and you say the bull's 380. How much does that play in? I mean, in Nevada, I assume it's fairly arid like Arizona. And can those antlers really vary in size from year to year, going up and down? Or when you measure a nice big 380 type shed, does it typically get bigger from there out?
It's about half. I mean, like, you have some bulls that just generally never get big. I mean, they stay 345 to 360 for 5 years. Then you got other ones that'll go, like I was saying earlier, grow 40 inches a year.
How much of that do you think is genetics, as far as just, the super genetics on a certain bull, the Shaquille O'Neal of elk, and how much of that do you think maybe is feed conditions and other outside factors?
I would probably say 80% of it's genetics. The feed here, like I said, it's generally pretty green regardless, and a lot of them bulls that have smaller fists, people like to say, well, they ran out of feed during that time of year, but you'll have a bull that's feeding right next to him that has, 15-inch fists, and that one's only got 5. It's just the elk, itself.
Yeah. In general, does Nevada have, big back ends or short back ends, or does it vary from unit to unit, or specifically unit to unit? Are there some units that, they have big, heavy bulls but short points? Or tell me a little bit about the different units you hunt and how the characteristics of antlers may be different than other places.
The two units but the two hunt numbers, they have several units in them. Like unit 111 through 115 is all one hunt, but it's got, 5 units. That one typically seems like they can put on more inches a year than the area down south, what we hunt 221 through 223. Them ones down there don't seem to have the really long hooking fronts versus 111 to 115. But they still got, big ones down there. It just seems these ones can put on more inches a year. And it's different type terrain too. And up there it's a lot rockier. And we're thinking, a lot more minerals in the rocks are helping the milk versus down south where it's kind of lower, thicker type area.
I understand. And so the units that are up north, primarily where you live, they're not quite as arid as the 231 down south. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah. Like I said, in the 231 down there too, it seems like they have a lot of big 5 points that typically grow down there, for whatever reason.
Gotcha. And what is the biggest bull that you guys, as a whole, guide service wise, what is the biggest bull you guys have harvested?
It was Jim Cook's, and that was one we killed in '96. It was a new state record, and it grossed 442 and netted 414.
And what was his configuration? Was that a typical, or I assume a non-typical?
Yeah, he's a non-typical, a 7x9. And there was some discrepancies in the score. His original score was at 419. And when they took it to panel, he actually fell below they have some type of, shrink factor, a magic number that only the Boone and Crockett panel scores know, and it fell below that, so he fell to that 414.
Yeah, regardless, he sounds like an incredible bull. Did he have like extra points between his fourths and fifths, or did he have kickers, or what did he have?
Yeah, he actually had a crown point on his left side between, his G4 and 5, an extra bez between his G2 and G3, a 7-inch devil point, and then an 11-inch typical 7 on his left side.
Just a beauty.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And then you shot a big bull yourself on the archery hunt. What day, was it late in the season or early in the season? When did you kill?
Yeah, second to the last day. I killed him September 15th. And when I drew that tag, it was actually an alternate tag. So we, the regular draw came out. We're looking through our draws, see what we have, and then none of us drew the archery hunt. So like, all right, we'll start taking archery hunters in that area or that hunt. So we ended up booking 3 archery hunters, and it wasn't until about a month later it come through an email from the Fish and Game that I was drawn as an alternate for that tag. So now we got that on top of it, that I drew that, and now we have 3 other guys that taken that too.
Wow, that put a little bit of a between a rock and a hard spot for your guide service, I'm sure.
Yep, and when I drew that tag, there was 2 bulls that I wanted to kill, and anyway, one of them, we found him this year, and I was hunting him, and unfortunately, a couple other people were too, but one of them had a rifle tag during that time. So I spent. He typically didn't come, watching him over the years, he doesn't come into that area till later on in the rut when they start going good and they start spreading out a little more. So I figured, well, we got these first couple days, a week or so to try to hunt these guys with my dad and our other sub guides and kill these guys' bulls. So we did that, and we killed 3 really good ones right off the start. One was 365, another one was 361, another one was 382. So we killed them, got them, good bulls, and I just been looking around myself, and finally, later on that bull showed up, and like I said, unfortunately, some other people were there too, and it just wasn't in the cards, and with a bow, you just couldn't compete with a rifle. So as hard as it was, I knew that I had to go find, a couple of these other bulls we've been watching, because I wasn't going to kill a bull if I just sat there the whole time with that. So I left and found this bull, and looking at him, the first night I actually had him close enough to get a shot, but he had a smaller fifth on the side, so I kind of passed, and I was waiting there, and I heard him bugling above me, and I kind of snuck through the trees, and by this time he was silhouetted on the skyline, and right then I knew, I'm like, this thing's big. It's really big, It's a lot bigger than I was giving him a score, but still adding up the numbers, I couldn't come up with what I thought he was. And anyway, the second to the last day, he was there again, so I got down there and snuck up on him 50 yards. He was bedded down and, put a good shot on him. He went maybe 100 yards and died. But when I got up to him, said I was in shock of how big he really was. And
how big did he go, Trevor?
He ended up grossing right around 400 and netting 391 with a 7-inch fifth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how long were his main beams?
59.
Wow.
Yeah, it helped in close to 30 inches of mass and, 18, 20-inch fronts. So it put him up there.
How clean? It was a straight 6x6, but with a weak G5 on which side?
On the left side.
Left side. And when did you kill this?
September 15th.
Oh, this last year?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. You mentioned something there. I want to talk a little bit about field judging. What's kind of average mass for, those big, say, 375 plus bulls? What are you seeing as far as mass on per side or your total measurement for a general rule of thumb? What do you plug in when you're trying to field judge a bull?
Usually around 28.
Okay.
A lot of our bulls, their G1 and G2 don't grow tight together. So versus a bull that'll grow them real close together will get close to 1.5 inches to maybe 2 inches more versus, a split brow and bez.
Sure. So the one of the things I look for in judging bulls is you obviously want quite a bit of spacing between your points, but you bring up a good point in the fact that when the distance between your G1 and G2 is spread out, you lose a lot of that webbing where your first circumference measurement being taken between your G1 and G2, if their first and seconds are spread out, you're not going to get some of that webbing. Is that what you're kind of alluding to? Yeah,
it definitely hurts them on that,
And when you're looking at bulls, and let's stick with the 375 plus, what's a general rule of thumb do you use for main beam, spread, obviously mass, you've said 28, so you're looking at about 56 on your mass plug-in. What are some of the other things that you're looking for?
I mean, obviously, if we can find ones with bigger fifths, that helps, but it's hard to find one that's got it all, the big fifths and big fronts. more often than not, we see ones with, bigger fronts than bigger fists to score that 375 type.
And how much does, in your mind, as far as what's the most important ingredient for big bulls? Is it main beams? Is it points? Is it mass? Or is it spread?
Beams can definitely help out a lot. Like I said, if you get, like say mine just round up to 60 versus 50-inch beams, you're getting 20 inches just right there.
Yeah.
So that definitely can help a lot versus ones that got, seem to be longer points but shorter beams, and they get outscored.
Yeah, I think I always, really try and make sure that the points are very long. To me, in order for a bull to be, big, it's got to have long points. And then, like you said, secondly, I think main beam is the close second to having really long points. I mean, it's rare to have a bull over 375 that has short points, but you can still have a bull over 375 that has long points but short beams. But it's rare to have a bull over 375 that has short points. So point length in my mind is number one, and then beams, like you say, is number two, and then quite honestly, mass and spread, I'd have to give mass a little bit of an edge over spread. But what kind of what kind of spread typically are most of your 375 bulls? What number do you plug in there?
They're usually only between around 39 to 41.
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't hunted Nevada, but I think you can attest to this or disagree if you like. I think a lot of people, think that bulls are wider than they are. And, to me, anything much over 40 for Arizona standards, that's a pretty wide bull. I very rarely plug in more than 40 inches when I'm trying to calculate a bull's score. Is Nevada pretty similar to that?
Yeah, it's very similar. And like I said, most of the stuff we kill is that between 37 to 40. And like you said, if you get over 40, that's pretty wide. Over 42 is getting, to be really wide, and 45 is, pretty much unheard of.
Yeah, for sure. And what kind of vegetation, in the summer, let's shift a little bit of our talk to summer scouting, where, not specifically, but what are you looking for as far as summer scouting, as far as trying to find those bachelor herd of bulls, and then maybe as the season transitions into fall, into September, do they move off of a certain feed or area to somewhere else? Talk about that a little bit.
No, just from what, we've kind of seen, they pretty much eat the same stuff all year long. It just depends on where it's at during that time. A lot of open meadows, elk, they like to be out in the open. They feed in the open. There's a lot more grass for them to eat in the open versus, really thick cover. So typically they'll be there, first thing early morning, towards the later evenings, and hit the trees to bed down in the midday. But any time in the summer that we can find a good water source, you'll know that they'll be fairly close to that, and just glassing a lot of green open slopes.
Yeah, and then Trevor, your bulls move quite a bit from summer to the rutting grounds. In Arizona, we have bulls, that move 15, 18, 20 miles from where they may summer. For 3 months, they may be within, you could basically throw a blanket over them. And then it seems like around that, September 1st, or really once they shed, say 10th or 15th of August, depending on their size and maturity, it seems like they can just take off on a walk and, move to the rutting grounds. Is that similar in Nevada?
Yeah. We, the furthest one we know of that we picked his sheds up, and that was the old state record. We picked his sheds up, that winter to where we killed him in the rut, was close to 30 miles.
That's unbelievable. And did you have a sense from watching him from year to year that he was going to make that move, or did he make that move and it kind of shocked you guys?
Yeah, he kind of made that move first, and kind of shocked us on that because we really didn't. We had the set from the year before, but didn't notice him the year before in the rut. So when we finally found out where he was the year we killed him, it was, pretty remarkable to make that, that trek because they're passing other places where other bulls are rutting, other cows.
Yeah, and Trevor, in your mind, what do you think causes a bull to walk by other elk to go rut in a specific spot? And the second question is, do you see bulls year after year that bull's going to show up and rut right here, and then, sure enough, there he is. He shows right up.
Yeah. Why they do that, I'm not really sure. Some people think maybe they were born there. I don't know. That's a question that I can't answer, but they do. It's weird that they do that. Just like another place that these two bulls, I filmed them in the summer there. I mean, feeding right beside each other. One of them stayed there to rut, and the other one crossed the valley, about 8 to 12 miles, and rutted over there.
So really no rhyme or reason, and you've seen it go both ways, where bulls you're watching will stay home and rut right there, and then just you've got those other bulls that'll just travel, and maybe it's just in their personality that they're travelers, and maybe some of them are homebodies. I don't know that we could ever explain it, but it would be actually an incredible study to do, maybe with collaring and stuff, if you could ever figure out how to track them. And I'd be real interested to see what percentage of bulls, stay close to their home range and which ones just go to a certain rutting grounds, and then how long does it take them to go, come back to, say, home ground for the, late hunts. Yeah,
it would be really interesting. And like I said, I don't have an answer either why they do it, but it's just something they do. And, like you said, you can count on that bull pretty much to come back, and he'll rut here every year. Another bull we've been watching for 7 years, he's been back, in the same, within, 2-mile radius, he'll be in there.
Yeah. What are some of these age, have you guys had any of these bulls actually aged? And if you had to put your finger on, it's a little bit of a tough question, but if you had to put your finger on when their peak age for maximum antler growth capability, do you have a sense of how old a bull has to be in order to, you said that one giant was 6.5 years old, but what is the magic age in your mind? Or, within a 2-year period, what's the magic age?
In my mind, I would say probably between 9 and 11.
And what, Trevor, have you ever had bulls aged? And, can you think of a specific bull that was, 390 that was, 14, 15 years old? Or what are some of the older bulls you've heard of?
We've killed one. He was 15, ended up grossing 396 and then 385. Another one, a local guy here actually found it dead. He had a big clubbed foot. And anyway, he died of natural causes. When they aged him, he was 16 plus. And we've got a couple sets off him. And my dad's biggest set off him, we figure he was around 14 to 15. And that set grosses 422, and that's 413.
Wow.
So, at that age, he's still that big.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how much, being able to have those bulls sheds year after year, or certainly, multiple sets, what is the main, as a bull's progressing, once they get a certain age, do you see their mass incrementally, drastically going up, or does it just, start to slowly edge out? What do you see the main differences mainly in the antler, either configurations or, do their points all of a sudden just get longer, or does just everything in general just kind of inch out?
Here, it's just kind of everything inches out. I've heard of other guys saying, their bulls seem to start putting on mass and then point length, but ours just kind of, everything throughout starts slowly getting bigger. And in 2012, we killed a big muzzleloader bull. And anyway, when the guy shot it, when I was looking at the bull, I could see these points sticking up the bottom. underneath that bull. And anyway, it was a set of sheds from the year before.
No way! Right where you killed him, you found his sheds.
Mm-hmm. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, and that bull, he put on about 45 inches in 1 year.
Wow, that is phenomenal. That kind of stuff just interests me like crazy. That's amazing stuff. Switching gears a little bit, Trevor, some of your tactics during the archery hunt, you said you do a lot of glassing. You do calling. Do you like to call a lot, or do you stalk more? Or what percentage do you call and what percentage do you stalk?
We stalk definitely a lot more. I'd probably say 75 to 80%. Calling, it's just really tough here. I'm sure everywhere, people want to get out and call them. And, bulls, they catch on a little bit and they know. And just the bad thing is when you're calling, if it ain't working now, they're expecting something to be over there. They're continuing to look. You're wondering what it is, where it's at. So we try to get in as silent as we can and just, head them off. Or if you got them bedded, just get in close and wait for them to stand up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, if you have to call. But, stalking in close is usually a deadly tactic. And if they're going on their own, usually you can get in enough to at least see them to see if it's a bull you want to go after. On the archery hunts, as far as your bull to cow ratio, what's a typical morning, let's say in one of your good units? Are you hearing like 4 or 5 bulls bugling, or are you hearing, 12 to 15 bulls bugling?
When it's going good, you can hear, 10 or more. You get a couple areas that they like. Like I said, you can get to a big bull and bulls are just going crazy. Other ones, it just depends on the area itself. You might only hear, like I said, 3 or 4. Just depending on the area and the time of year, as far as later on in the rut or early, is dependent on, how well they're going.
Sure. And in Nevada, are there also landowner tags or conservation permits, or is there any way for people to circumvent the draw, or is it a strictly draw-only state?
There are landowner tags available. They're pretty tough to get. There ain't a whole lot of them. In that area 111, there's roughly, just throwing out a number close, probably 10 to 12 available. And then in 22, maybe, 8 or 10. And that's it for the hunt.
So it's fairly limited. And then the late hunts, shifting gears on the late hunts, Arizona, it seems though our antlers are broken up pretty bad. But one thing I notice about Nevada, it seems like your antlers don't break as bad as ours. Seems like you guys actually have some really good late hunting and actually kill some really good bulls. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, our late hunts, they're pretty good as far as, like you said, you're not getting a whole lot of them broke. And most of the ones you see, too, though, are because we're passing them broken ones. We do get them broke up, but, we feel it's a shame to take a giant bull that's busted. He don't get the credit he deserves, and just kind of save him for next year, and hopefully you can catch him when he's good. Our late hunts, last year we killed 2 giant ones, both grossed, around 395 in the late hunts, and fortunately they weren't broke at all, so we were good in that part of it.
Were both of those clean 6s, or what were their configurations?
One's a typical 7, and then another one's a non-typical 6-7 with the crown point in between the G4, G5.
Nice. And give me an idea of Nevada bulls. Is it half and half between non-typicals and typicals, or is it 25% or non-typicals? What's your ratio? If you had to throw out a guess?
Yeah, it's definitely more typicals than non-typicals, and a lot of our non-typicals too. It's usually just 1 point. We're not getting a whole bunch of extras for the most part. You'll get the select few, but most of it is probably, 70% typical with, 40% being non-typical. And I'd say out of them, too, probably only 15% of them have more than 1 point.
Gotcha. And, Trevor, what's the best way for my listeners to follow you on your website or your, I don't know, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Can you give me all the different ways where the listeners can find you?
On Instagram, just search Bull Ridge Guide Service. Same thing with Facebook. We have a Facebook page at Bull Ridge Guide Service. And then YouTube, it's you could search Bull Ridge Guide Service as well. And continuing to work on videos, it's not necessarily hard, but you got tons of cards and trying to put everything together. So we just put up a new one last night, and a lot of people like it on YouTube, and it's getting a good response.
Great. Yeah, I enjoy following your stuff. And, Nevada, unfortunately, it's not a state that I applied for a long time ago. I just didn't get in that game, and so I've always felt like I'm behind. Maybe one of these years I'll have to purchase a landowner tag or something. But it sounds like you guys have phenomenal hunting, and I've watched, the success of your guide service for years. Talk a little bit about your sub-guides and how many you have, and you mentioned you killed 27 bulls last year. That's a fantastic feat. And talk about your sub-guides a little bit, and do you cover all the units, or what are your specialties?
Okay, but first, going back to the draw, when you were talking about, you felt you didn't get in, but Nevada, the way it's set up, you could draw just as easy as someone with 5 points if it's your first year.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a lottery system, but you have bonus points, but still your bonus points, like say, because they're squared.
Yeah.
So say if you got, 5 points, and they square them, so you got 25 chances. But that's only to get one draw number.
Oh, I understand. So actually everybody has a chance, but your chances are more weighted because of the squared system, but you still have a ticket in the draw.
Yep. So your one chance might get a lower draw number than my 25 or my, 10 or whatever.
So in essence, the way it works is, and just trying to simplify it, if you have 5 and you square it, say you're at 25, so you have 25 tickets in where maybe I just have 1, but that means that still, it gives you better odds, but that I could literally draw my first year out.
Yep. Yeah, that's like last year. We Dylan in the draw, there was 4 non-resident tags available. It was his very first year of playing, and he drew 1 of 4 tags.
Goodness.
So it's really just about luck.
That's unbelievable. And I know the outfitter draw is already passed, but how much better of an odds does that give you if you apply with an outfitter?
The odds go up pretty good, but it's only for deer. So the elk and all the other big game are, just a regular draw for the guys.
Okay, that makes sense. And then back to your, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. And then back to your guide service and the sub-guides and stuff you have. In order to kill 27 bulls, you must have some good guys that work for you.
Yeah, our guys are great, and it's guys that have been hunting with us, guiding with us for, some of them close to 10, 15 years, The newest guys are still, 4 years in, and we don't take a lot of people as far as just, hey, do you want to guide and come do it? Our guys are very experienced. They're all hunters themselves. We've all killed great animals ourselves, and to be able to know what it takes to get someone else their once-in-a-lifetime trophy. There's, me. Well, first of all, there was my dad, and he's got 4 brothers. So that's where the Marques brothers came in, all of them, and then myself, my other cousin Cody, and another one of my uncle's nephews guides, and then a couple other friends, and then other family friends that do it. And we got about 15 guys total. Most of the time, during the hunts, we'll take, usually about maybe just 4 or 5 guys in the first week, and then try to get another guy with them so they at least have 2 guys, to help if anything goes wrong, or just, to help out spotting.
Sure, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit, and then we'll wrap this up, but talk to me a little bit about the gear that you use, as far as you do a lot of glassing as well as I do. What binoculars do you like? What are around your neck at all times, and then maybe some of the long range glass, or what are you using besides your binoculars around your neck? And are you using a tripod, that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. A tripod to me, I feel is a must. Lots of guys, you get up on the hill, you're kind of winded anyway, and just to throw a tripod down and steady is insurmountable and giving you that extra edge, I feel, to finding them. But we got a lot of Leica, Swarovski, Optolit is a really good one. Not a lot of people got that, but my uncle's got one, and that helps a lot. And I just picked up a new Cabela scope, and I'm actually really liking it. It's made by Miopta, and it's definitely, to me, seems clearer than my Leica does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what about digiscoping? What's your go-to setup for getting a lot of your video and your pictures?
A lot of it, I'm just using a point-and-shoot Canon, and I made an adapter out of PVC pipe for $1 something, and that it seems to work good.
Interesting. And then with that point-and-shoot Canon, you're at full zoom, I assume, when you're taking video and pictures?
Yeah.
Like you're full zoom with the camera. That works best, so you don't have the vignetting with the ring, the black ring?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well that's awesome. I'll have to have you on again to talk about mule deer and maybe some of the other hunts you do. I think we covered a lot of ground today on the elk and got a good insight for what Bull Ridge Guide Service does. I guess I would ask you one last question in that, what is it that makes you do what you do? I mean, try and explain to me the fire in your belly to get up and do the things you do. What is it that makes you do that?
Well, you being a guide as well, you obviously know we don't do it for the money. People think it's, a money-making business, and it's not. We do it because we love it. It's something that, like I said, it's hard to describe, but people who have a passion for other things, our passion is just as deep, and our drive is just as strong as anyone else to do what they want to succeed in. You get up day in, day out. 1 year, I think I hunted 106 straight days, every day, between 4 and 5 o'clock getting up, and just to be out there and to know, to me, I take a lot of pride in it, as far as knowing that you could do it, as far as not needing anyone else or, a hand in it, as far as just, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Oftentimes it becomes a grind, but I know what you're saying. There's those that can grind and there's those that can't, and I think 106 days in the field, not having ever met you, but having talked to you on the phone, I'm betting that you're just as fired up on the 106th day as you were on the first. And the only thing that drives that, like what you said, is passion, and that's not something, you either have it or you don't, and you either have that mentality to grind and to, rain, shine, wind, snow, it doesn't matter. You get up and you go, and I think I still have that fire in my belly, and it sounds like obviously you do too, and I think that's what drives a lot of people to success in a lot of things. And, you're right in the fact that guiding is not a, extremely lucrative thing. But if you love it and it's in your heart and in your soul, you can be successful monetarily. That's not always the great judge of success, but doing what you love to do is very important. And you hit the nail right on the head. Trevor, it's been an awesome time spending here with you. I'm glad you were able to join us. I actually look forward to really speaking with you again. Maybe we can cover mule deer and lion hunting and maybe just some other topics that you want to talk about as well. I keep telling you one last question. What's your thoughts on kind of this craze that we have going on fitness and, shirtless selfies, and you know what I'm talking about in the hunting, and, feel free if you don't want to go into it, but what's your thoughts as far as some of the trends that you're seeing? Is it good for hunting, or is it just everybody's different and they're entitled to do what they want? Or somewhat to me, it on some days I think, why do they have to make this into a fitness thing when if you're going to be a good hunter, you're going to be fit regardless. If you want to be good at something, you have to be able to go. And then on other days, I think, maybe people are taking it too far and putting too much of an emphasis on fitness.
And that's it. I think there's too much of an emphasis on it, and we got into it, I brought it up, and I speak candidly about it, that I see a lot of overhype on it. Not saying that it's not good to be fit, of course, you want to be fit, but there's other options to do that. You can take different avenues for fitness. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the gym, hitting the weights, with a six pack or, the biggest arms, but as long as you can get up and down the mountain, that's what it comes down to. And like you said, a lot of guys, if you want to take shirtless selfies or whatnot, that's fine. I'm all for if somebody betters themselves and they're happy for it, by all means, put it out there, be happy with what you did with yourself, and I don't have a problem with that, but I do think there is a lot of overhype with the people that do stress on the fitness, this and that. I've seen a lot bigger and better animals, and I guess that necessarily doesn't always mean that you're the better hunter if you kill the best out there, but that's what everyone's shooting for. Everyone
Right.
wants to kill the biggest and best out there. And
Right.
I've seen a lot, bigger, better animals killed with people that don't go to the gym or, aren't, every day trying to tell you, hey, look
How big their biceps are.
Yeah, it's so as far as that, to me, it's not a necessity for hunting. Just like I was saying, I went to practice on my vertical for, 6 months and then think I'm awesome at basketball because I could jump high.
Right.
I can't shoot, I can't pass, I can't dribble, I can't defend, but I can jump high. There's a lot more things that go into hunting, that if you practice doing all of them, you're going to be a better hunter.
Yeah, I think you just absolutely nailed it. I think everybody can get better in every arena, but there's glassing, there's tracking, there's field judging, there's shooting, there's how to pack efficiently and have enough rations to be out there for days on end. There's a ton of stuff, and I think sometimes personally I agree with you in the fact that the fitness craze, while I think it's fantastic that people are getting in shape, I think there's too much emphasis on the fact that whether that makes them a good hunter or a great hunter. I think it adds, but I think, maybe spend some of that time and round it out and work on your glassing skills, or, work on getting better equipment, or, go work on your tracking ability, or work on, sharpening a knife and knowing how to handle an animal when it gets on the ground. And, they're like you said, in basketball, it's not just about who jumps the highest. There's, shooting and passing and, dribbling and all the fundamentals that go along with the game. So, well, that's a great answer, and I will let you go at that. And I appreciate you being on today, and I wish you the best of success. And now we've just got to wait here for these fuzzy antlered bulls to start growing so we can get out there and start watching them. And it won't be long here. We'll have the summer velvet right in front of us, and the whole thing will start over again. So good luck with your shed hunting that you've got probably right in front of you now, and probably chasing a few cats around. So wish you the best with that.
All right, well, thank you, Jay, and thanks for having me and giving me an opportunity to speak. And better yet, a place for outdoorsmen to speak, on your podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Trevor, you take care, and I look forward to speaking with you again, and you have a good day, okay? Thanks for being with us.
All right, thanks, and good luck this season, my friend.
All right, buddy. God bless.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to the J. Scott Outdoors Western Big Game Hunting and Fishing Podcast, brought to you by GoHunt.com Insider. Research faster, hunt more. Go to GoHunt.com/insider and join today.